Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, so Venerable Sialis, dear Dhamma friends. So today we'll resume our discussion on the Kusalattika Paṭṭhāna. And last week that we completed the connaissance group, right? So I hope that y'all can remember this table that we learned in the beginning, the introduction. So there were 8 main conditions and 9 groups which we are supposed to learn. And from that, we completed this one, the connaissance, right? The connaissance condition. Based on the connaissance condition, there was the connaissance group. So all these paccayas, the 15 of them, we discussed, right? We discussed the Pali, we discussed the analytical states, both. So today, yes. So today what we are going to do is to start our discussion on this one, right? From the 4th group. I think there's a small error here, right? So the condition is purejāta, and the condition group that we are discussing here is the base prenascence, right? Vatthu purejāta group. So we'll be discussing this group this evening. Right. So in this group, there are 6 paccayas we need to discuss here, right? The base prenascence dependence, base dependence faculty, base prenascence disassociation, base prenascence presence, and base prenascence non-disappearance. Right? So these 6 paccayas we'll be discussing.
在关于这个今天开始要学习的这个一出前生组里面呢，总共有6个缘呢是我们要学习的。那么分别呢就是一出前生一子缘、一出前生缘、一出前生根缘、一出前生不相应缘、一出前生有缘，以及一出前生不离去缘，这6种缘。
Right. Right. So first, when we look at the prenascence group, right? In the prenascence group, it is divided into 3 parts, right? Object prenascence condition, Pali we call it Arammana purejāta paccaya. Base prenascence condition, Vatthu purejāta paccaya. Base object prenascence condition, Vattaha rammana purejāta paccaya. So what we learn here, right? Because even though there are 3 paccayas here, we'll be learning the object prenascence condition and the base object prenascence condition, right? So whatever it is related with the base, we'll be learning, right? Base prenascence we'll be learning, base and prenascence both. So for the Arammana Purejāta, the object prenascence group, there is no base, right? The base is not present. We'll be learning it later on together in the object group, but here we'll be learning only these 2. So in the classification of the prenascence condition, right? So in the classification of the prenascence condition, there are 3 enumerations, right? So when you look at this Pali, there are 3 here, right? Abhyakato abhyakatassa, then abhyakato kusalassa. The third one is abhyakato akusalassa. So there are 3 of them, 3 enumeration. So in this classification, it includes, in this Pali, it includes both the object prenascence condition and the base prenascence condition. And in the Pali, these headings are given for these respective conditions, right? For the object prenascence condition, we have the topic of Arammana purejāta. For the base prenascence condition, we have Vatthu purejāta, like that. Right? So we can see this in the Pali, right? Here, see, now we have Abhyakato Dhammo, Abhyakatassa Dhammasa purejāta paccayena patsu, and we have this topic, right? This is topic, Aramana purejātam, for the object prenascence Pali, which is related to, which falls in Abhyakato Abhyakatassa. And then we have the topic, we can see the Vatthu purejāta, the second topic. Right. But for this paccaya, right, for this paccaya, the base object prenascence condition, there is no vibhang for that, right? There is no Pali in this here, right? In this classification, we don't find any Pali, but this base object prenascence condition is included in the prenascence group, right? It's not there here, but it's included in the prenascence condition group, base object prenascence condition group. I'm sorry, the base object prenascence condition is included in this Pali itself. So, however, this object condition is also applied, right? There is this object condition which is applied in this base prenascence, right? You can see the word here, object. So this is applied in the base object prenascence condition. So therefore, this part of it, the base object prenascence condition, is explained in the together with the object condition, right? Later, now there were 9 groups, right? So we have this group, right? So this base prenascence will be taught under object condition. You can find this base object prenascence condition here, right? So it will be later taught. But why we are learning it here? Why we are learning this thing? I mean, even though in the object condition group we cannot see the Pali. The Pali is not there for the base of base object prenascence condition, right? So it's not there. The Pali is not there, but we are learning it here in this classification section because there is another topic in the next main subtopic. There is a section called Ghatana, combinations. So in the combinations, this base object prenascence condition is coming. So that's why we are learning it here. I mean, in this section, so that we can easily learn it when we start learning the combinations, right? So nevertheless, we'll be learning this Pali later on in the object group. Okay, so first we will learn about the purejāta paccaya, right? So what happens with the purejāta paccaya, the prenascence condition? Now we know that in the prenascence condition, there are 2 types, right? The base or the object prenascence and the base prenascence. So now in the case with the connaissance, we understood that the conditioning states and the condition states, both of them, they arise together, right? They both arise at the same time. But with the case of the prenascence condition, the conditioning state arise earlier, previously, right? Before the conditioned state, right? So the conditioning state arise previously, the conditioned state arise later. That we have to understand well, right? So when it's happening, there are 2 types, right? So aramana purejāta means the object prenascence, right? So whatever the object which is taken by the consciousness, that arise before the consciousness, right? That before the consciousness, and mind you, and also this conditioning state is in existence, is in endurance at the moment the condition state is arising, right? So for example, for the Arambana purejāta, the object renaissance is somebody seeing a rupa, right? Seeing something, seeing a color, a visible object from outside. So when they are seeing this through the eye consciousness and the other consciousnesses, this this object is at the state of endurance. That we have to know, right? It arises, whatever the object, the color, visible object, it arises prior to the conditioned state. It arises prior to the before the eye consciousness arises, right? So that's what happens in the object presence condition. And with the case of the base presence condition, Vatthu purejāta, the base, the six bases which support their respective mind elements, they arise before the mind elements, right? And they arise and is in the endurance state before the mind elements arise, right? So in both cases, in the case of the object presence, the base presence, in these both cases, we can see that the conditioning state arise before to the conditioned state, right? So that's what it means as renaissance. Right, so now we will go through the Pali, which is related to the base renaissance, and translate it. Now remember that there are two types of Pali which comes under renaissance condition. This is the object renaissance and this is the base renaissance. So because we are discussing the object renaissance, we are only going through the object renaissance group.
Base renaissance, Bhante?
Sorry?
But they meant base
I'm
renaissance.
sorry. We will be learning only the base renaissance group, not the object. Okay, so first one, we have the Abhyakato Dhammo, Abhyakatassa Dhammasa. Where is its translation?
It's after the Pali, Bhante. I think it's each Pali sentence followed by the English translation.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Chinese side. Cannot see this. Okay. Abhyakato Dhammo, Abhyakatassa Dhammasa, purejāta paccayana paccayuppannadhamma. Indeterminate phenomena support the indeterminate phenomena through the force of renaissance condition, right? And then we see this topic, Vatthu purejāta, object renaissance. Cakkāyatanam cakku viññānassa purejāta paccayana paccayuppannadhamma. The eye base supports eye consciousness through the force of renaissance condition. Then we have Sotāyatanam sota viññānassa purejāta paccayana paccayuppannadhamma. The ear base supports ear consciousness through the force of renaissance condition. Yes.
But I think there's a I misunderstood. Should be base renaissance, not object renaissance. And the
Yes,
Vatthu
yes.
purejāta.
Yeah, this should be base renaissance, right? Let me share the other. Right. Then we have Gānayatanam Gāna Viññānassa purejāta paccayana paccayuppannadhamma. The nose base supports nose consciousness through the force of renaissance condition. Jivāyatanam Jivā Viññānassa purejāta paccayana paccayuppannadhamma. The tongue base supports tongue consciousness through the force of renaissance condition. Kāyayatanam Kāya Viññānassa purejāta paccayana paccayuppannadhamma. The body base supports body consciousness through the force of renaissance condition. Vatthu vipākābhyakatānaṁ kiriyābhyakatānaṁ kandhānaṁ purejāta paccayana paccayuppannadhamma. The heart base supports resultant indeterminate and functional indeterminate aggregates through the force of renaissance condition. Right, and then we have, so here you can understand that 5 bases, the I base and the 5 bases, they support their respective consciousnesses, right? The I base support the I consciousness, the ear base support the ear consciousness, like that. The body base support the body consciousness through the renaissance condition, right? So this is one type, we would say one type. And the second one is Vatthu Vipaka-abhyakatana Kirya-abhyakatana Kandana, which means the heart base supports resultant indeterminate and functional indeterminate. So for the conditioned states here are the resultant indeterminate and the functional indeterminate, right? This is the heart base. It's the 6th one. Okay. So now the next one is Vatthu purejāta. For the abhyakato abhyakata, so here also it should be base process, right? Yeah. Abhyakato dhammo abhyakatasya dhammasa purejāta paccayana paccaya indeterminate phenomena support. I'm sorry, abhyakato dhammo kusalasya dhammasa purejāta paccayana paccaya indeterminate phenomena support wholesome phenomena through the force of renaissance condition. Vatthu purejāta base renaissance. Vatthu kusalanam khandanam purejāta paccayana paccayo. The heart base supports wholesome aggregates through the force of renaissance condition. Yeah, so this is the second one. And the third one is the heart base supporting the unwholesome phenomena. Abhyakato dhammo akusalasya dhammasa purejāta paccayana paccayo. Indeterminate phenomena support unwholesome phenomena through the force of the renaissance condition. Vatthu purejāta, also base renaissance. Vatthu akusalanam khandanam purejāta paccayana paccayo. The heart base supports unwholesome aggregates through the force of renaissance condition. Right. So the base renaissance, we know that there are 6 conditions, right? Base renaissance dependence, base renaissance, then the base renaissance faculty, base renaissance dissociation, base renaissance presence, and base renaissance non-disappearance. So these 6 paccayas, right, we will be learning in 2 groups, right? So in this base renaissance group, that there will be 2 groups, 2 parts really. We are learning them, right? So it's based on the 6 bases and their respective conditioning phenomena. So that's how this group is divided and learned. Right. So this is the first type, first part rather. We'll use the other book. Yeah. So this is the first type. First part, base renaissance dependence, base renaissance and base renaissance dissociation, base renaissance presence, and base renaissance non-disappearance. So we do not have, right? Now I told that there are 6 paccayas, 6 conditions. So among these 6, the base renaissance faculty is not there in this group. So that's the difference here. So the conditioning and the condition states, so during the arising in the 5-fold existence, the 6 bases, 6 bases. Oh, I think I have corrected this one. We'll move it here, right?
Yes.
Okay. So during the arising in the 5-fold existence, the 6 bases serve as conditions for the 7 elements of consciousness, excluding the 4 immaterial resultants. Right, so this is in general, which is given here. So this base presence takes place only in the 5-fold existence, right? So in the 4-fold existence, we know there is no rupas, right? No materiality. So we know the base presence, and there is no base in the 4-fold existence, right? In the immaterial plane. And in the single material plane, the asanya satta, non-percipient group world, there are no consciousness. So this purejāta, the base presence, does not apply in these two types of places. So it's only applicable in the 5-fold existence. And the 6 bases, we know the 6 bases, they serve as condition for the 7 elements of consciousnesses, excluding the 4 immaterial resultants. We know these 4 immaterial resultants, they only arise in the immaterial plane. They do not arise in the material plane, right? In the material plane, I mean, in the 5-fold existence, it does not arise. So it only arises in the immaterial plane. And the immaterial wholesome consciousnesses, they arise in the 5-fold existence, but their resultants, they only arise in the 4-fold existence, right, in the immaterial plane. So that's why these 4 immaterial resultants are excluded. So which means only 85 types of consciousnesses are applicable here. So there are five conditions here: conditioning forces, dependence, nisaya, prenescence, purejāta, dissociation, vipayutta, presence, ati, and non-disappearance, avigata, right? And yeah, okay. The conditioning phenomena, there are the 6 bases which are straightforward. Yeah, so these are straightforward. Which a total of 6 bases, right? Eye base, ear base, nose base, tongue base, body base, and the heart base. Yes. Right. And then we have the conditioned phenomena, which are the 7 elements, which is the eye consciousness element, the ear consciousness element, the nose consciousness element, tongue consciousness element, body consciousness element, mind element, and the mind consciousness element, right? I hope that y'all can remember the analytical states of the mind element and the mind consciousness element, right? So the eye base here and the other 4 physical bases, right? They support their corresponding consciousness elements, right? Except like the eye consciousness supporting the eye consciousness, the ear consciousness supporting the, the ear base supporting the ear consciousness, like that. And the heart base, finally, the heart base, it supports 2 types of mind elements, right? 2 types of elements, the mind element and the mind consciousness element, right? And okay, yes. Right. So here I have included the heart in the conditions that I have included the associated mental factors here. That's because Brother JJ specifically asked me when he was translating, why not the associated mental factors, right? Yes, the mental factors, they also come, right? Here, like here also, it's only include the 7 elements of consciousness. It does not include the associated mental factors. The chetasikas are not there. So really the associated mental factors, they do apply, but in the Burmese Nisaya book, it's not there. I think the way that the shadows in ancient times, what they taught here and applied here was, so in the Pali we see Chakkāyatanan Chakku Viññānassa purejāta paccayena paccayu, right? The eye base support the eye consciousness through the prenescence condition, right? So that's what it means here really. So yes, when you take the Chakku Viññāna, the eye consciousness, the associated mental factors apply too, right? But the Pali, our Lord Buddha, he has expounded this one as Cakkahayatanan Cakkhuviññāna, so only. So I think that is the reason that the Burmese shadows have not included the uh, associated mental factors, but they apply, right? Do not have any doubt regarding that. Right. Okay. So there are three enumerations here. So the enumerations are indeterminate to indeterminate, abhyakato abhyakatassa. The next one is indeterminate to wholesome, abhyakato kusalassa, and indeterminate to unwholesome, abhyakato akusalassa. So from that, the indeterminate to indeterminate, this enumeration, it applies when 5 physical bases and the hard base support the indeterminate resultant and functional mental aggregates, right? So we can see in this side, right, in the conditioning state side, right, the 5 physical bases and support, they are materiality, so they belong to abhyakato, indeterminate. And with the case of the condition states, they are the indeterminate resultants and the functional mental aggregates, right? So when the 5 physical bases, when they support the eye consciousness, ear consciousness, etc., they are indeterminate resultants, right? And also when the heart base support some of the indeterminate resultants too, right? And also the functional mental aggregates, right? And okay. And then we have this one, abhyakato akusalassa, indeterminate to wholesome. They occurs when it has applied when the heart base supports the wholesome mental aggregates. The same case with the indeterminate to unwholesome. It occurs when the heart base supports unwholesome mental aggregates. Right. Now we come to a very important section regarding the conditional forces, the conditioning forces rather. The conditioning forces. So we know the 6 bases, they support the 7 elements of consciousness through 5 different conditioning forces, right? So we'll discuss them separately and understand the nature of it, and also we'll run the Pali regarding these conditions, right? So the first one is the Nisaya Paccaya, the force of dependence, Nisaya Paccaya. So in the connaissance group, we learned about the connaissance Nisaya, right? The connaissance, what do you call it? The connaissance dependence, right? We learned the connaissance dependence there. But now we are learning about the prenaissance dependence, right? So when we were learning the Nisaya Paccaya there in the connaissance group, where we learned the nature of the Nisaya Paccaya, right? I hope that you all can remember. So Nisaya means it becomes a place, right? It becomes a place it becomes a place, the background for the conditioned states to arise, right? So here also the bases, the 6 bases, they work as a place, right? A place for the mind elements to arise, right? So this is what is applied for the dependence, right? So in terms of the connaissance dependence and the prenaissance dependence, the nature is quite similar. The word nisaya, the dependence is the same, right? Because it performs as the place for the condition states to arrive, right? So assume that it's like it works like that. Yes. Yeah. So the simile which is given in the commentary is like the Nisaya for the Nisaya Paccaya is that we know that when the artists, when they draw a picture, a portrait, they have the portrait or what kind of a picture, they have the canvas, the drawing canvas. On top of the canvas, they will draw their whatever their art, right? Using whatever the material, using the on top or on the drawing canvas. So the simile which is given for the Nissaya Paccaya is like that. It's like the drawing canvas for the art. Right. So, okay, we'll go through the Pali, of course. We'll go through the Pali and find out, right? We need to know where these things, in these Paccayas comes in the Pali. So in the Nissaya Paccaya, there are 11 enumerations. 11 of them are there, right? So among them, we have to find it, right? So this first one is, so we know the conditioning states are abhyakato. So we have to go to the abhyakata section, indeterminate section to find it, right? Okay. So the first one here comes abhyakato dhammo abhyakatassa dhammasa nissaya paccayana paccaya. The indeterminate phenomena support the indeterminate phenomena through the force of dependence condition. And this part, right? This part is the connaissance dependence. Yeah, it's connaissance dependence, the first part, right? And from here, Cakkāyatana, from here, right? From this point, it's the Paccaya we are looking at, the base renaissance condition. Cakkāyatanan cakkhuviññānassa nissaya paccayana paccayo. The eye base supports the eye consciousness through the force of dependence condition. Like that, we find it, right? Sotayatana, we have a peyala here, of course. And then finally, we have Vatthu vipakabhyakatanam kiriyabhyakatanam khandana nissaya paccayana paccayo, which means the heart base supports the resultant indeterminate and functional indeterminate aggregates through the force of dependence condition, right? So this is where this Pali comes. We need to, so what I'm suggesting is that after the class, if you have a physical book, the hard copy, find it in that page, right? If you're using the computer, the application to see the Tripitaka, you do it by yourself and figure it out where this Pali comes. Right. And then we move to the next one, right? Abhyakato dhammo kusalassa dhammasa nissaya paccayana paccayo. And then, which means indeterminate phenomena support the wholesome phenomena through the dependence condition, right? So that part we already learned. And also we have the abhyakato dhammo akusalassa dhammasa, the indeterminate phenomena supports the unwholesome phenomena, right? This part Pali also we learned, right? Only the conditioning force. It's a difference. Okay, so the next paccaya here is the force of purejāta paccaya. We learned it before, right? The bases arise prior to the mental aggregates and support them when they arise. Right? It's very straightforward. We learned it previously. So the next one is the vipayutta paccaya, the force of disassociation. I hope that y'all can remember regarding the disassociation, we learned quite a lot, right? We learned quite a lot when we were discussing the connaissance group, the connaissance disassociation. So here also the bases support the mental aggregates while remaining disassociated from them. So for the disassociation, right? So, can you see the screen? Okay, so for the disassociation, we learned when we were learning the connaissance group, that we had the mental aggregates here, right? The mental aggregates here, and then we had the mind-born materiality, right? The mind-born materiality, right? I don't have the pen now, so I'm using it here, right? So we have the mental aggregates and the mind-born materiality. So they were nearby, right? They were nearby, supporting them, right? And they were not associated, right? So that's why the disassociation condition came. So so they were nearby, right? Can you remember that that there were they do not mix, and they arise nearby. And when the the mental aggregates support the mind-born materiality, they were nearby, but they were connaissance, right? They both these mental aggregates and the mind-born materiality, they arose together, right? Now, in the case of the purejāta, right? In the case of this purejāta, base prenaissance, we have the bases here. Right? We have the bases here, and these bases, when they are supporting their respective 7 elements, right? 7. I'll just write the 7 mind elements. When they are supporting the 7 mind elements, these bases, they arise prior to the 7 mind elements, right? So that's why this prenaissance condition is applied, right? But remember, they are nearby, right? I mean, when these 7 mind elements when arise in the bases, they use them as their ground, but they do not get mixed, as the mind elements did not mix with the mental aggregates were not mixed with the mind-born materiality here. The bases, they do not get mixed with the 7 mind elements, but they arise in proximity, not proximity, they arise nearby, right? Because they use the 7 mind elements, they use the bases. So in terms of being disassociation, these both are same, right? But it's a different way that this disassociation is taking place. Okay? It's a different way that is taking place. So you have to understand that when this prenaissance is taking place, they they do not get mixed, and they arise in nearby places, but they are not mixed, right? And they are, in the nature of disassociation, they are similar to the connaissance too, right? Yes. Okay, so do we have any questions here? I think we need to clarify this thing and move forward.
老师问说，关于这一点呢，大家有什么问题吗？因为这个呢很重要呢，大家都能够很清楚的理解，那我们才能够继续的讲解下去。所以大家有什么问题呢？现在可以提出来问。
Okay, good. No questions, right? Okay, means everybody understood what it means. All right, so yeah. So then the other 2 paccayas are very straightforward. That is the ati paccaya, the force of presence, and force of non-disappearance, the avigata paccaya. The bases support the mental aggregates by not disappearance, not disappearing. Right? So it's very straightforward, the ati and avigata. So here, what really I want you all to do is to reflect on these conditioning states, the nature of it, right? As I mentioned in one of my lectures, understanding the nature of the conditioning force, not the conditioning state, not the conditioning state, not the conditioned state. Understanding the nature of the conditioning force is the most difficult thing, right? So take your time to reflect on the conditioning forces, the nature of the conditioning forces in this scenario, right? It's a good place for us to really reflect, because we have all the paccayas here, related paccayas, the 5 paccayas here. So please take your time and reflect it, right? After the class, you have to do it. So we move into the next one, which is the base prenaissance faculty condition, right? So what comes here is that in the base prenaissance faculty condition, in addition to the prenaissance condition, the 5 conditions we earlier discussed, there is the faculty condition, the indriya, right? So what are the condition states here? Condition and the condition states here. They are the two fivefold. This is what 2, right? 2 fivefold consciousnesses, the 5 bases. Oh, it's wrong here. Is the Chinese translation correct, Brother JJ?
Yes, Bhante.
Okay, so the 5 bases that have already come into existence support 2 fivefold consciousnesses. So when this is taking place, in addition to the 5 paccayas, the 5 conditioning forces we discussed earlier, then the indriya paccaya appear, right? And only one enumeration is there, which is indeterminate to indeterminate, because both the conditioning states and the conditioned states are indeterminate. Okay, so now we go to the Pali and see, right? So Indriya Paccaya in the case of the Indriya Paccaya, we learn, right? In the connaissance group, we learn the connaissance faculty. Right? Kusala Indriya, like that, right? So here we start from Abhyakato. Right? In the Abhyakato, indeterminate. So in the indeterminate, we have this one, right? So the first part, Vipaka Abhyaka. Now this is the connaissance one. Starts from here. Chakku Vijnanasa Indriya Paccayena Paccayo. Sota Indriyam Sota Vijnanasa Gana Indriyam Gana Vijnanasa Jivindriyam Jiva Vijnanasa. Like that. Right. And finally, this third part is not applied here, right? Which is the Rupa Jivitindriya is not applied here. Right? Only the sentences which I highlighted. So when we compare the 5 bases, right, the I base, etc., the 5 bases, 5 bases, here we see the additional paccaya of the Indriya paccaya. So what is Indriya, right? What is the faculty? What is the meaning of faculty that we need to know, right? So when I was explaining the paccayas, I mentioned about when I was explaining the connaissance group, we discussed about the Indriya Paccaya, right? It's like it has a certain kind of authority, a power, a special ability to do its job in its domain, right? So that's very important. So it has a particular controlling principle, right? Controlling ability to perform its task, right? It's like a kind of a, it says like the simile was given that it's like a lesser king. Lesser king means it's like a king who is only who has only the power to execute his things in a particular division, right? It's not like the great monarch. It's only a lesser king. So in his domain, that the king can execute his powers, right? He can do whatever he wants, but in his domain only, right? So like that. So each of these five bases, right? Five faculties, the bases, the five faculties, they have a certain kind of a special ability uh, in performing certain activities, right? So to support, so what is done by the eye consciousness is to see, right? What is done by the ear consciousness is to hear, right? So like that, each of them have their own uh, domain of activities, right? So when they have the, I mean, for the case of eye consciousness, to see, the ear, the eye base uh, have a works as the faculty condition, right? It executes a particular power which support, it's the function of seeing, right? The ear base, the ear faculty, it supports the ear consciousness in its function of seeing, right? So the five, in this way, the five bases, they are, we call the pasada rupa, right? So these five types of special types of materiality, they have the pasada rupa, right? The special kind of a rupa which supports these activities, right? So that's why we have the indriya paccaya here. But in the case of the heart base, it does not have that kind of an ability, right? I mean, in the heart base, there are two types of consciousness which arise, right? The mind element and the mind consciousness element. But they do not support the cognizing process, right? The cognition is done uh, totally through the consciousness itself, right? But here, for the cognition process, the eye base, the ear base, the nose base, the tongue base, the body base, they support it in the material. Here also these bases, they cannot see, right? They cannot cognize the object, but they support their respective consciousness for the cognizing process, right? But in the case of the heart base, it merely works as a base, right? A place for the mind element and the mind element and the mind consciousness element to arise, right? So that difference we need to understand, and that's why we have this the Buddha, our Lord Buddha, he expounded these two paccayas separately. Right. So the conditioning forces we discuss. So for the enumeration, we only have one, right? Abhyakato Abhyakatasa, that part we learn. And for the purejāta, there are only three enumerations, right? In the prenaissance conditions, there are three. So in the Pali, which comes as purejāte tini. Right. So now we will go through the analytical states a little bit, right? So first we learn about we learn the summary of the analytical states, then we learn a breakdown of it, and after that, next week we'll be learning the detail analytical states, right? So in the first one, in this table, we have the only one enumeration is there. I'm sorry, the three are there. The first one is indeterminate to indeterminate, where the 6 bases are applied, and in the fivefold existence, excluding the immaterial resultants, we have the 32 resultant consciousnesses. the 20 functional consciousnesses, and the 38 mental factors. And abhyakato kusalasa, indeterminate to wholesome, we have the heart base, only the heart base as the conditioning state. And in fivefold existence, we have the 21 wholesome consciousnesses and the 38 mental factors. For the abhyakato akusalasa, indeterminate to unwholesome, we have the in the fivefold existence, the 12 unwholesome consciousnesses and 27 mental factors. No questions, it seems. Okay, so we share the merits. Okay, so we share the merits which we accumulated by learning, teaching, translating, and reflecting the supreme words of our Lord Buddha. We'll make a wish that we attain Nibbana through this karma, and also we especially share the merits for the 7 bhikkhus who passed away a few days ago from the Navina monastery due to a tragic accident, and also the 6 Bhantes, 6 monks who are undergoing treatment at the hospital, and the condition of 2 of them are quite critical. They are in the intensive care unit, and one of them is a student of mine, of course. So we share the merits for the Bhantes who passed away, and also we share the merits and make a determination for the Bhantes who are in the hospital for a speedy and a comfortable recovery. Right. So with this, we share merits. Akasatta Bummata Devanaga Mahideka Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkantu Sasanang. Akasatta Bummata Devanaga Mahideka Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkantu Desanang. Akasatta Bummata Devanaga Mahideka Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkantu Mang Parang. Idamme ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idamme ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idamme ñāti nang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamu satang samagamu hotu yavani bana pattiya. Yang patantang kusalang tassa anubhavena panino sabbe saddhamma rajassa nyatva dhammang sukhavahang papunantu visuddhaya sukhaya patipattiya asoka manupayasang nibbana sukhamuttamang. Chirang tithatu saddhammo dhamme hontu sagarava sabbepi satta kalena samma devo pavassatu yatarakkinsu purana surajano tatevimang raja rakkatu dhammena attanova pajang pajang. Imaya dhammanu dhamma patipattiya buddhang pujemi. Imaya dhammanu dhamma patipattiya dhammang pujemi. Imaya dhammanu dhamma patipattiya sanghang pujemi. Addha imaya patipattiya jati jara vyadhi maranamha parimuccissami. Idammi punyang asavakkaya vahang hotu. Idammi punyang nibbanassa paccayo hotu. Mama punya bhagang sabba sattanang bhajemi. Te sabbe mi samang punya bhagang labhantu. Buddha sasanang chirang tittatu. Buddha sasanang chirang tittatu. Buddha sasanang chirang tittatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much.